Coming back here on Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos. Follow me at Joey Sports Guy. Handing out first half grades for the Chicago Cubs, the 47-51 Chicago Cubs. Hopefully poised and primed when they start on Friday against the Arizona Diamondbacks to turn their season around, get back into the wild card. Shout out to our producer, John Meadows, doing a wonderful job at the controls. So let's dive right into the pitching side, starting rotation. Only place where you're going to find any A's here, Shota Imanaga. Got to give it to him, man. A-. Dude's an all-star. It's the signing of the offseason. I mean, we're going to talk about the bullpen and what Jed has failed to do offensively, but, Michael Busch and Shota Imanaga have been very, very solid, prudent moves. Shrewd, if I'll say. Love his personality. He's a gamer. Dude is 8-2, 2.97 ERA. The FIP numbers, which is basically the expected ERA of what a player should do based on luck, is at 3.28. So he's pretty much in line there. It means it's a good precursor that things should continue to stay the way that they are for Shota. You do worry a little bit about the innings count, but to this point, the guy has been fantastic. The control's been awesome. 6.13 Ks per walk ratio. That's 6 strikeouts for every 1 walk. And in 11 of his 17 starts, he's gone at least 6 innings. I mean, look, this is almost an old school throwback player. I get it. He's not going to go 8 or 9 innings every single time. But if you give me 6 or 7, I mean, look, what more can you ask for in today's Major League Baseball? I have no complaints with Shota Imanaga. I look forward to the days that he pitches, except for maybe that one start against the Brewers and the one start against the Mets. Dude's been fantastic. We need him to keep it up. We can't continuously lean on him to pitch as fantastically as he had, but hopefully he continues his solid, wonderful rookie season through the rest of the year. Let's keep on moving on here. Jameson Taillon. I gave Jameson Taillon a B+. 7-4 record, 3.10 ERA. Again, his FIP is 3.81, so he's gotten a little bit lucky. Maybe he comes back to earth just a touch in the second half, mostly because his strikeout rates are down. He's pitching to more contact. And you do wonder in those late July, early August months, wind blowing out at Wrigley, does he start kind of giving up the long ball a little bit more? But to this guy, he's been solid as a rock. Taillon's been a metronome. In 15 of his 16 starts, he's allowed 3 runs or less. That means he's only allowed more than 3 runs in 1 start. So every single time, he's giving you quality start after quality start. And after an injury-plagued last year, he was awful last year. This is the type of player that I think Jed Hoyer was thinking that he was going to get when he signed him 2 off seasons ago. So good for Jameson Taillon on the bounce back. Love to see it. Keep up the great work. B+ for Jameson Taillon. Justin Steele, A-. This dude's the soul of the team. He's the heartbeat. Honestly, if you were to get rid of any player on the team right now and have me absolutely lose my mind, if they got rid of Justin Steele, I really don't know what I would do. I'd flip out. I would maybe curse, and I know this is a radio show, which I know I shouldn't do. He's got 14 starts. His record is only 2-3. I've done this 1,000 times. How is that possible? But his whip right now is 0.95. He's only allowing 6.7 hits per 9 innings. And all of this with the lowest ground ball rate of his career. So he's not really getting as many ground balls as he had in year past. So I'm giving Justin Steele an A- to this point, and I think the best is yet to come. I think a huge second half for Justin Steele is on the way. I think if that happens, combine that with the Shota, combine that with the solid Taillon, I think you've got a great mix there to win at least 3 out of every 5 days that you're out there playing baseball. That's that 600 baseball that we need from the Chicago Cubs to get to that 85, 86 mark. So I think Justin Steele, I love the direction that he's heading. I think when he screamed at his teammates in Milwaukee, I think that did a lot. And hopefully in years to come, we'll look back upon that moment and say that's when Justin Steele became one of those legendary Cubs, those Anthony Rizzos, those dudes that are the heart and soul of the team, and a guy that we can really love and root for. I think he's got a big second half in him. Let's just see if he can stay healthy. And honestly, Chicago Cubs, when he's out there on the mound, just do what you did last year. Just win the game, will you? Moving on. Kyle Hendricks, I'm going to go with a D here. Come on. I'm not going to belabor the point here. Dude's 2-7. He's lowered, good for him, his ERA to 6.78. Thanks to an ERA of 2.80 since June 1. But, man, imagine all the work that he's had to do just to get down to 6.78. The guy's a Cubs legend. but he's a minus 1.3 wins above replacement player right now. He's given us 3 quality outings in his last 5 turns. That last one against the St. Louis Cardinals was incredibly impressive. Man, we owe everything to this guy in the franchise. I'm not going to get onto some sort of big diatribe here about Kyle Hendricks, but to be honest with you, if the Cubs are serious about making the playoffs here, they got to cross their fingers and hope that guys like Jordan Wicks, guys like Ben Brown, can come back, rejoin the rotation. And I think Kyle Hendricks, his best spot is probably in the bullpen, hopefully pitching some quality innings or getting us out of a jam somewhere in September. I just don't think running him out there every 5th day is the recipe to get the Chicago Cubs to the postseason, even though he means just so much to this franchise. Javier Assad, I'm going to give him a B-. It just seems like the dude's been out of gas a little bit. I think a lot of the flack that he's taken is that his stuff, or honestly, we do a lot of judgment with how he looks physically about does he have the right pitch mix and the right stamina to compete as a starter. He continuously proves us wrong. He was 4-3 in the first half with a 3.27 ERA. He did come back, didn't pitch great when he came off of his injured list stint with the forearm injury. And honestly, since June, he's at a 5.49 ERA. Home runs have been a bit of a problem for him lately. My question is, I love what he's done. He's given us a quality effort, but even now when he goes out there, he can kind of only give you 4 or 5 innings, which continuously taxes a talent-bereft bullpen. And I want to applaud him and thank him for what he's done in the first half, but I'm also wondering, with guys like Jordan Wicks and hopefully Ben Brown coming back, could you see even a Cade Horton? When those guys come back, I'd like to see them in the rotation, perhaps Javier Assad in the bullpen, as that stretch guy to come out on days when maybe a starter can't go as deep into a game. I just don't know if he's the answer moving forward in the rotation. Again, Javier Assad, though, continuously proves me wrong, and I hope that continues to be the case. But at the same time, I do not see him as perhaps the rotation solution that he was in the first half in the second half of the season. I gave Javier Assad a B- for his first half, only because it's sort of tailed off over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Bullpen, what do you want me to say? F. Just F. I've done it on the show before. Thank you so much if you remember me reading all this stuff off, but they're bottom of the league in most categories. They've blown 19 saves. When you talk about a team that is 4 games under 500, 19 blown saves. Man, can you imagine if you just get 6 of them back? If they only blew 13 games, that means that they would be well in second place. They'd be chasing the Brewers, and they would easily be in the wild card if they only blew 13 saves instead of 19 saves. I'm not going to go through every single player, but look, I'm going to go who's on my naughty list. Colton Brewer broke his hand. Jose Cuas, no longer with the team. Yency Almonte came over in a trade, now on the injured list. We'll see if he can come back. Adbert Alzolay, look, man, it just simply did not work out this year. Ineffective and now injured. Whether he pitches again this season is a total mystery. Mark Leiter, look, he's the guy that they keep running out there. They got a lot of miles on him, and he's had a couple of really bad starts, which makes for a bad ERA. But when you talk about a bad bullpen, he should have been one of the lone bright spots, or a guy that you can at least anchor yourself to when the winds are picking up and the storm is coming in. That is this bad bullpen. He just hasn't been able to answer the call. And then Hector Neris, which I famously talked about, and check out my Twitter profile at Joey Sports Guy. I believe he perhaps is a top 3 worst closer in Chicago Cubs history, at least in the last 40 years. Is there hope on the way? Look, it's going to take a village, right? I mean, Julian Merriweather doing some rehab stints right now in AAA. Like to see that. We really, really, really need him to come back, shore up that 7th or 8th inning. Heck, I mean, at this point, he might have to be the closer by the time August rolls around if he comes out and checks out healthy after a couple of weeks. I liked what I've seen from Porter Hodge. It is unfortunate they ran him out in that St. Louis Cardinals game. The moment was a little bit too big for him. And look, Counsell had to use him out of necessity. I like Porter Hodge. I like what he brings to the table, but I don't think you can be using him in high leverage situations. I think you want him to cover outs in the 6th and 7th inning. That being said, when you put him in those high leverage situations, he is going to fail from time to time because he's a young pitcher. There's really not a whole lot that you can do about that. The same goes for this Hunter Biggie kid. Keep giving this guy opportunities. He throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, look, if he pans out over the next 10 days, I would maybe even give one of those guys the closer spot, Hunter Biggie or Merriweather, that is. See if they can run with it. See if they can make it happen. Because right now you're kind of trying to just catch lightning in a bottle, and you need it from some young arms, and you need some guys to go on some heaters. The guys on the naughty list, I don't trust anymore. Hector Neris, don't trust him. Can't do it, won't do it. Hunter Biggie is at least a mystery box that I'm willing to open up and see whether he could possibly be a guy that can be a solution for the Cubs in the second half. Tyson Miller, great pickup so far. Good matchup guy. I think he's been great in the 7th and 8th innings. They're probably going to continuously use him throughout the 6th to the 9th inning. Been a solid pickup so far. Jorge Lopez, not much to say, only a couple of appearances, but again, a guy, a fresh arm that we need to try and use and see if we can get something out of. And then, of course, Jordan Wicks and Ben Brown, I've mentioned before. We'll see how these guys work out once they come back healthy. Hopefully they come back healthy and stay healthy. Cough, cough, Jordan Wicks. But both those guys can help out either in the rotation or the bullpen. I like both of their stuff a whole lot. That can also be something that can hopefully make a bullpen that I'm giving an F to right now maybe a little bit of a better grade in the second half. And to round it out, Craig Counsell, the $40 million man. The guy that we said, bye-bye, Grandpa Rossi. Thanks for playing. We're bringing in the best manager in baseball to take over a team and hopefully take it to the next step. Well, they're still at 47-51 through 98 games, the exact same record that David Ross had. So what other grade can I give Craig Counsell? I got to give him a C- right now. And I'm just speaking about this from less more of an analyst side, which I've tried to do with more of the Cubs players and more of just a fan side when you talk about a manager. But honestly, the results have been really underwhelming. He's kind of just boring. I mean, I knew that he wasn't a big high energy guy, but even like he just isn't maybe as insightful or as interesting or as illuminating with his baseball knowledge as I thought he was going to be. He seems to be kind of a guy that just crosses his arms, shakes his head, and says, well, this happened today. Well, let's see what happens tomorrow. That's why I got to give him a C-. I illustrate all the stuff that I didn't like about him, to start the year. I don't know why he tinkered with Nico Horner not hitting leadoff. Morel in the cleanup spot, I think he stuck there way too long. I don't mind the experiment, but when it wasn't going, when you saw it trending maybe not in the right direction with some of the advanced numbers with Morel, you should have punted on it and gotten him out of there. You're giving Amaya way too much run. It's been a musical chairs at closer. Now he's basically just closing his eyes and going off of analytics instead of actually really trying to find a guy that can flourish and stick there in that spot. Because here's the problem with bullpens really quick, is that if you can't find the closer, it all goes top down from there. These guys need roles, and they need to understand them, and then you can kind of roll it out and work your matchups in a more refined way. This is so disjointed right now in the bullpen that Craig Counsell's literally figuring it out on a day-to-day basis. If you're a pitcher in that bullpen right now, you have no clue when you're coming into that game. These are professionals, I get it, but when you're mentally trying to prepare, it's just been difficult on everybody. Nobody knows what's up or what's down. You got Colton Brewer closing a game, Porter Hodge, Hector Neris. It's been just rotating cast ever since Alzolay. They got to figure it out. And if they're going to get back in this race, they have to have their closer figured out by the first week of August, which is only a couple of weeks away. A couple other things I didn't really like. You kind of strayed away from Michael Busch playing against left-handers. I get it. You want to protect the rookie, but at some point, the numbers prove out that the dude's worth, taking a gamble in certain situations. Maybe some lefty finesse people. Hopefully we see that more in the second half. And then the final one is typically when you bring in a big-name manager, especially in that first year, he's supposed to be good for about 5 to 6 wins. And to this point, it's been net neutral. Just haven't been very impressed. The team has lacked a lot of fire. They don't have a lot of guys that carry a huge edge or a chip on their shoulder on this team. I get it. Christopher Morel has energy, but a lot of these guys are super even keel. And it makes you think you kind of miss some of David Ross's fire just a little bit. You miss a little bit of, just somebody knocking this team out of the coma, sleepwalk that it has been through much part of this season. I got meatball about it. I was like, does this team need to get in a fight with somebody at some point? You take a pitch a little bit close. Maybe you stare somebody down. Maybe the bench is clear to something different just to break up the monotony of the mediocre that has been happening with the Chicago Cubs team. And it just hasn't really come from Craig Counsell. So Look, I want to see what happens. We're going to stay the course with him. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm, getting ahead of myself. Maybe this is a marathon and not a sprint. And maybe by the end of the year, Craig Counsell has us playing games in October. I hope that is the case. But to this point, at this time, when you give a guy $40 million, C- is as high as I can go for Craig Counsell. And if you notice, there's a lot of C's on this team, a lot of C grades, some D's in there, 1 F. Only a couple of A's. It's been right there in the middle, and that's what happens when you have a 47-51 team.